Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crimson and in this video we are going to be continuing our look through of the artwork of Deadspace art book. Where we left off last time was on the Sprawl, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the intro. However, I do want to ask you guys a question and please let me know in the comments. So this art book here is for the original trilogy and the original games. However, I recently found out that a art book for the new Dead Space remaster has come out. So if you guys would like me to cover that book as well, please let me know and I will be sure to buy it. So without further ado, let us get right into it. Again, my eyedrop marker, or book marker. Sorry, I have markers on the mind because, you know, Dead Space. But yeah, so, sorry, got a little bit ahead of myself there. Okay, so, the Sprawl. So, the Sprawl, it says, conquering a moon. After the first game, we thought it would be interesting to put you in the middle of a big necromorph outbreak, says Ben Winat. The Sprawl was the key set, and we built everything around the notion of what it's like, being stuck on a space station surrounded by civilians who are changing around you. It's interesting it's an interesting survival situation to be in. It's kind of like being in the city of a zombie outbreak. The Sprawl itself is as much a star of the second game as the USG Ishimura in the first, a colossal space station in orbit of Saturn's moon Titan. It offered a contrast to the rushing browns and reds of the Ishimura interior, and allowed a much broader, more colorful palette for the artist to play with. It is brighter yet darker, tighter yet more open, a complex backdrop within which the game could further explore the fragmented society of Dead Space's stark future. The first Dead Space was a particular moment in this series' history, says Ian Milholm. For Dead Space 2, we wanted to go a lot more modern and a lot more current day in technology of the universe. You see it in Isaac's advanced suit, and you most definitely see it in the Sprawl, the Sprawl differs very much from the Ishimura in two ways. The first thing is the Ishimura is a ship, and like I said, the ship housed both the miners and the staff and all of their families, but it is just a singular ship. The Sprawl, on the other hand, is much, much larger and is essentially an entire city. It is a floating metropolis, and it houses millions and millions of civilians. So you have things like schools, you have things like shopping districts, housing districts, and everything between. So it's a much brighter area to explore in contrast to the Ishimura. The second thing that's interesting about the Sprawl and Dead Space 2 as a whole is in Dead Space 1 we arrive at the Ishimura after the necromorph out. So everything has eventually gone to shit by the time we reach the Ishimura. It's desolate, there's barely any survivors, if any, and the place is completely run down. The Sprawl, on the other hand, we start at the beginning of the necromorph outbreak, and we see firsthand how this once sprawling, fully packed floating metropolis falls to the necromorphs in real time, especially as we go through the residential districts, which is very cool seeing a necromorph outbreak in action. Okay, so here we have a couple pictures of the Sprawl. The Sprawl is a circular space station, by the way. It's also known as Titan Station, since it is on the Saturn moon of Titan. Picture here of, I'm not sure what is actually being depicted here. It looks like a laser type weapon is being used on some part of the Sprawl or an asteroid near the Sprawl. Okay, the hospital. So let's read what it says. With Deadspace, not just that which lingers in the shadows that can be terrifying. One recurring motif in Deadspace 2 is the stark lighting inspired by the white glare of a dentist's light, which instills a feeling of being interrogated with nowhere to hide. The hospital is a perfect example of this philosophy coming into play. A clean and sterile setting. It's an unsettling space which Isaac first deposited, as well as a stark contrast to the environment of the first game. We wanted to make this shiny, bright future in direct contrast to the horror that was going on. So yeah, the hospital is an area in the Sprawl, and like it said in the little passage I just read, it is a stark contrast to some of the areas in the Ishimura. It is bright with white walls, very clean, almost like a sterile hell, to the point of being very uncomfortable and on edge in the game. I'm like that with hospitals in real life too. I feel very uncomfortable in hospitals just from past experiences. Patient Clark. So I think this is about the beginning of the game. It says, the blood-smeared padded walls that Isaac wakes up to lay in the perfect foundation for one of Deadspace's main themes, Isaac's creeping insanity, triggered by the marker and constantly threatened. He's constantly threatening his very safety. It's a space that echoes the confined and mechanized corridor of the Ishimura before expanding into the wider mess of the Sprawl. So here we have some of the areas here. This looks like the starting area. How the Deadspace 2 starts is Isaac has been held in the Sprawl for 2 years, and someone comes and tries to rescue him since he's in a straitjacket. However, his rescuer is turned into a necromorph by one of the infector types. The infector types kind of look like stingrays, and Isaac, with his legs free but still in the straitjacket, has to run through the ward that he's being kept in as all of the patients are being turned into necromorphs and UEG soldiers begin opening fire. The reason he's kept here is because he's the only survivor of the Ishimura incident, both so that they can study him and also so that his information does not get out. This is again another of the starting areas. So it says, we wanted our neighborhoods that felt different, Ian Milham says, of the Sprawl's design. It's like Disney parks with that distinct onstage and backstage feeling. So you'd be in the trash compactor, you'd be in the factory, and you'd go through the door and boom, you'd be in the apartment building. you'd feel like you've come through different infrastructure of this planet. So these are some of the areas that we go through at the start of the game. This is one of the main areas that we enter. This person here slits his own throat, which is graphic. By the way, I think I said this before, but Dead Space 2 was my introduction to the series. Home is where the horror is. Sorry, I don't know why this text is so difficult to see. If Dead Space is about the cold isolation of being stranded, then Dead Space 2 is about the horror of seeing your domestic surroundings unopened. The living quarters of the Sprawl are grounded in a grim reality, which lends them an eerie familiarity. So yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, going through all of the living quarters. So this up here is one of the domestic and living quarter areas. This looks like a central foyer, and same with this one and this one. This one here is a part or an entrance to one of the Unitology churches, and this looks like the interior of a Unitology area. So we're just going to go through this very, very quickly. These are just some of the ads that we see throughout the Sprawl. Like I said, the Sprawl is a whole city, so there's lots of businesses and advertisements that we see. So there's a bunch of product pictures for different products. These look very reminiscent of the old style pin-up girl pictures and posters. I think so anyway. These are some of the stores that we pass through. These are some of the toys that we find around. This is actually kind of very cool. So this is a toy figure called Lindsay, who is a miner with an E, and she is wearing the mining armor or mining suit, which is what Isaac wears, which is just kind of cool that there's like an in-universe doll line that has this kind of suit on them, which I think is very, very cool. So this is the nursery. Won't spend too much time here, but this, as you can guess, is a nursery for all of the infants and babies and toddlers of the Sprawl. So it acts like a nursery, a daycare, and all that stuff. As we progress through the game, we see what has become of all of the infants. They have been transformed into necromorphs, and they have this massive sack on the back of their on the rear of their back, and their heads are fully twisted around. So what they do is they crawl at you very slowly, but once they get to you, they explode, causing massive damage. So you have to pick them off quickly. And again, they usually attack in rather large numbers. Again, what you're also able to do is, because they explode, if you kill them without shooting the part that makes them explode, you can pick them up with kinesis and then throw them at enemies to make them explode. So obviously all of these pictures are post-necromorph outbreak, so everything is all cheery. We do revisit this area in the game after the outbreak, and the contrast is incredible. I'm hoping we see some more pictures of that. Here are just some new ads about, EarthGov and all that. Not spending too much time on this stuff. Okay, now back to stuff of substance. The Marker Lab. At the heart of EarthGov's conspiracy is the Marker Laboratory, a facility that hints at terrestrial roots for the necromorph outbreak. I wanted it to feel sterile and clinical, explains Joseph Cross, who helped design the labs. I pulled a bunch of stuff from NASA, as well as jet propulsion laboratories and aerodynamic buildings. I wanted to feel very high-tech and clean and sterile, as if everyone was wearing suits and gloves. So this is a lab where they study the marker, the red marker from ages 7 that caused all of the problems, was captured and brought to the Sprawl. Now, the citizens of the Sprawl have no idea this is going on. This is completely off the books, top secret, so no one knows this is going on, which is just terrifying, because they're doing this in a massively populated area of men, women, children, who for the most part are all civilians. Here are some more pictures. This just says about some of the environmental art. And yeah, this just shows some of, this looks like a hangar bay with a kind of ship. This is a window where we can see some of the research going on, and this just looks like a corridor. Okay, Dead Moon Rising, the Lunar Colony. Deadspace 3 is a home coming in all sorts, though it's not exactly happy one. The New Horizon, a lunar colony, is one of the very first off-world installations deposited on the pockmarked surface of the Earth's moon. Founded some 400 years before the discovery of the red marker, the New Horizon colony, by the time Isaac arrives, it is now home to the destitute and the plain desperate. Isaac finds himself here, battered and broken after the events of Deadspace 2, surrounded by a humanity that is seemingly without hope. And these are just some pictures of what has become of this colony and how run down it actually has become. Here are some more pictures of some of the environments in the ship. So up here we have some more of the ads. However, this time this is post necromorph outbreak. So you can see some of the graffiti, you know, we are life is now we are lifeless. It also just says fuck a bunch of times. We are one is now we are done. We are power has become we are death. And yeah, we see some of the cars that have been abandoned here. This looks like a marker or some kind of necromorph building. Okay, Home Sweet Home. Deadspace 2 introduced a slightly brighter vision of the future, even if it was one that was still covered in grime and flecked with blood for Deadspace 2. There's a return to the darker vision of the first game, and a move away from the far future look at its immediate predecessor. So here we just have some more pictures of the inside. We have a picture of the slum here. We have a picture of Isaac and a character. I'm not sure who this is. The lighting is kind of bad on this picture, so I can't really tell. Okay, so the flotilla. The Ishimura's defense, the Ishimura defined the first Deadspace and set the tone for so much of what followed. Deadspace's 2 Sprawl was impressive. So for a certain part of the series' audience, there was a yearning to return to the tight, confined, and echoing-filled spaces of the desolate ship. There is a canny solution to this in Dead Space 3 with the flotilla, a ring of shards and fragments that hold a fleet of dead ships, each with their own theme and motif, each offering the R team an opportunity to explore facets of the Dead Space universe. So here we have a picture of some of the dead Space Hulks and dead spaceships in as Isaac is traversing them in zero gravity. The command ship. Sorry, I have to move this closer to me just so I can see. The command ship. Sorry, I have to move this close just so I can see, as I can barely make out this text. The white on the light gray is not a good choice. So it says, a central hub for the flotilla, the command ship, or the CMS Roanoke, to give it its full name. It is an orbital station that shows off the deeply worn aesthetic of Dead Space 3. The central tower, akin to that seen in the airport, or in an airport, while the dingy motel on its surroundings ring is also typical of the kind of beat-up place found in city edgelands. I apologize, I know I read that awfully, I just could not see the text for the life of me. So here we just have some more pictures of the command ship. The Mass Driver. All of these ships predate the Ishimura by a couple hundred years, says Ian Milhelm. They're floating around in a spaceship graveyard, and it gives us a chance to bring in vintage influences, especially in our own term for the 1940s and 50s, into the Dead Space world. CMS Terra Nova, otherwise known as the Mass Driver, is the perfect example of that. A run-down vessel which also sees a return to the rib motif that runs throughout the series. And here we have some more pictures of just that. Okay, let's continue. Okay, Tau Volantis. So this is an area that has been mentioned a bunch beforehand, but this is a full section dedicated to it. Tau Volantis. Dead Space has explored spaceships and floating cities, but Dead Space 3 sees the series take in a planet for the first time. There's no cold comfort to be had. This is a harsh, violent backdrop where Isaac's tale moves towards a thrilling climax. Orb-like in its formation, and around 3/4 of the size of Earth, Tau Volantis is in the grips of an epic ice age that makes its surface near inhospitable. Some life survives though, and it potently holds some of the marker's greatest secrets. So here are some pictures of Tau Volantis. I really like this picture of Isaac kind of looking on into the distant landscape. There's something on fire over here, which is a stark contrast to the kind of gray-white hellscape that is Tau Volantis. People were concerned that they would lose the isolation they had in the Sprawl, says Alex Muscat. But there are ways to create claustrophobia. For example, we pull in the blizzard really close, so there's a limited visibility. And then there are shadows of necromorphs that jump out, And that's what really defines Deadspace. It's these intimate encounters with the necromorphs. Here are some more pictures of Volantis. We have this one, which is a picture of the planet. This one, which is Isaac. Isaac and his teammates, so Ellie and Carver and some of the other characters, crash land here. So this looks like Isaac coming out of the remains of the ship. Great double spread of Isaac looking on to Volantis. This looks like a previous military compound by the UEG, or by at least humanity. I'm not sure if the UEG was formed at this point. Some more pictures here. This is kind of inside one of the Volantis research labs. So we have some Volantians frozen in suspended animation. We have two characters here. These look like Isaac here, and maybe John Carver here. John Carver, by the way, is the second playable character in Dead Space 3. Dead Space 3 is meant to be a co-op game, and player 2 plays as Carver. However, he does make multiple appearances in playing single player. I played Dead Space 3 once, and I played it solo. So, I only had Carver as an NPC. However, Carver does have a lot of his own story beats, which I find very interesting. Okay, gimme shelter. Volantis boasts a weather system, a first for Dead Space. Although it's set mostly to cold and harsh through the bleak and ceaseless sheet of snow and outposts. Battered by the elements but offering small moments of brief respite, they are imported not only to give players a breather, but also control the pacing of the tightly scripted experience. The way station. Sorry, this is again very difficult to read, so I'm just moving this closer to me. Although Volantis is seemingly inhospitable, there are signs of human life dotted across the prickly landscape. They are an enigma and an existence of the haunted house motif that provides the framework for so much of Dead Space. Within each structure. So yeah, and here are just some more pictures of Volantis and some of the human outposts. All of these human outposts are very, very old and are completely, or mostly run down, if not completely run down. So stumbling upon them is almost like going back in time hundreds of years. Here it says, we're going retro, says Alex Muscat of Dead Space 3's ethos, and it's something that can be seen in the well-worn interiors. Everything's going to be older. We're going from what we thought was present-day technology to the first two games, day technology in the first two games to something that's 200 years in the past. It's completely different look. Instead of doing iPads, we're doing CRT monitors. We're not doing it digital, we're doing cartridge. This is old technology. So this just further proves what I was saying, that these human bases are very, very old, and we can see some of them here. The interiors, as you can see, are in complete disarray. There's three bodies of three men hunched around a table. There's a bottle of liquor on the table there. These look like dead bodies that have just been wrapped up. They don't appear to have turned into necromorphs yet, but it's never too late for that. Okay. Entering the facility. The biggest secrets of Tau Volantis lie beneath its wintry surface, and it is here that Isaac comes across a new breed of creatures frozen from under the ice. They're more than a new, skittering presence in Deadspace's grotesque menagerie, though they're a link that binds together much of the mythology and lore of the Deadspace series and provide a satisfying answer to many of Deadspace's reoccurring questions. So this is Isaac looking on a massive structure. These appear to be some Tau Volantians that have been frozen. This one over here looks a little bit less frozen. I'm not sure if he has been converted into a necromorph, or maybe it's part of the same being. The Alien City. The original inhabitants of Tau Volantis were a race of aquatic aliens whose fates were interwoven with the markers. Tau Volantis was a giant ocean, and then it froze, explains Alice Muscat. That's why it's this ice planet. The aliens are embodied in the planet because they're aquatic by nature. Their design is rooted in that. For the actual architecture of the city itself, we tried to give it a circular motif. It's where all the aliens came together at one and built this machine. That's the city itself. The alien city itself is vast and cavernous, located miles below the surface of Tau Volantis, and provide one of Deadspace's most spectacular backdrops. Very true. So here are some pictures of the Tau Volantians. Like I said, they are, or like it said here, they are very aquatic in nature. We have some monoliths that they built. So the Tau Volantians were an extremely technologically advanced race. However, even their technology was no match for the necromorphs. And the reason the planet is now a frozen hellscape is because they activated that as a last-ditch effort to freeze the planet, to stop the necromorphs in their tracks, and also preserve what little survivors there were, so that one day they could come back and potentially be resurrected. Here is some more pictures of the inside of some of the facilities. So we can see some of the Tau Volantians all over the place here. We see two of them here. These two look dead and almost semi-frozen in time, whereas this guy here appears to be partly taken over by a necromorph, and as proof of this, there is a marker. I believe this is a red marker in the background. Okay, let's read what it says. For a series that has never shied away from sci-fi references, it is fitting that one of the final places Isaac explores is an explicit homage to the alien ship that's the center of Ridley Scott's Alien. Like the subsequent prequel Prometheus, Dead Space 3 toys with the concept that are rooted in the work of Eric von Däniken. Apologies for mispronouncing your name. Though, as ever, they're done with the style that is a uniquely Dead Space. So here we have a bunch of pictures. So we start off with a human facility that has been overtaken by the time and the elements. We have this picture here, which shows a Tau Volantian who has not been taken over by the necromorphs. And over here is a picture of Isaac in a deep underground vault of the Tau Volantians. As you can see, there's two statues of the Tau Volantians on either side. So this place was very, very important to them. Here we have a double spread of a picture of Isaac. I believe this is him sliding down rappelling down an ice cliff based on the ice around him, and this cord attached to his back. This looks like a necromorph here. I can't tell what type it is, but it looks to be very hostile. We have a Tau Volantian here. At the end of the game, the Tau Volantians do become an enemy, which is kind of sad because they technically haven't done anything wrong. You know, in this case, we are the invaders, so we're invading their home planet. And based on everything that they have been through with the necromorphs, it's completely justified that they would be hostile. And then over here we have 3 soldiers. I'm not sure if any of these are actual named characters, but these guys are shooting at the necromorphs and Tau Volantis as Isaac is repelling. And here we have a couple pictures from some of the graphic novels. I have not read any of the graphic novels. Actually, sorry, one thing. Here are some more pictures of the graphic novels here. I forgot this page was here, sorry. So I have not read them personally, but I have heard that some people like them, some people love them. So we have multiple pictures. We have a picture of a necromorph. We have a picture of someone, I'm not sure if this is Isaac or not, in the suit. We have a picture of Isaac in 0G, and I believe this is the ship crash landing on Tau Volantis. And then here we have 2 characters. I'm not sure who these 2 are, but a middle-aged looking man with a young woman with red hair. We have a man here who looks like this man here, but this is him from behind looking onto a marker. I believe this is a black marker, but I could be wrong. We have a picture here of, this is John Carver, I think, just based on his black and red armor scheme as well as the red eyes in his visor, in his helmet. Isaac's helmet has blue lights, whereas Carver's helmet has red lights. And over here we have a type of necromorph. I don't think this necromorph appears in the game, so I'm assuming that this type is exclusive to the graphic novel. And that, everyone, is actually, let me just quickly say this. So it says the people that made this book possible: Ian Milhelm, art director; Alex Muscat, art director; Ben Winnat, creative director; and Kate Vatchford, producer. Special thanks to all the supremely gifted concept artists who have contributed to the Deadspace cosmos over the past 6 years. And biggest thanks of all goes out to all of our Deadspace fans. Thanks for enjoying this Deadspace world as much as we did. And we end with yet another Rorschach test. Let me know what you guys see in this one. I see a marker, but maybe that's just me. And that, everyone, is the end of the book, of the artwork of Deadspace. So I hope you guys enjoyed both this video and this 3-part series. I'm glad I was able to get it done in 3 parts. However, this video is probably going to be a little bit shorter. The Deadspace art book was a book I was kind of hesitant on getting based on not knowing what it would contain. However, I am extremely pleased with what this book has in store. And if you are interested in Deadspace, even in the slightest, I would recommend this book so much. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making this. as a massive Dead Space fan, any excuse to talk about Dead Space is always welcome to me. So, if you are listening to this video as you are trying to fall asleep or trying to relax, this is the end of the video, so I'll give you a few seconds to pause the video. I just don't want an ad to pop up and ruin your relaxation. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Our next book that we will be covering is a FromSoft game. So I'm not going to say which one it is, but if you are familiar with me or have maybe taken a few hints from the Bloodborne series, it is my second favorite FromSoft game. So thanks again for watching. My name is Crimson, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.